What's going on, everybody? Welcome to The Wire. Just me and Marvin Scott in the house, but that doesn't mean we're not going to talk big things. We got Sahe coming a little bit later to talk NFL, but Marvin, my brother, we are going to cover the NBA, and that all starts tomorrow for us, yesterday for you guys out there. So let's start things off, Marvin. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. It's it's been a crazy winter so far for sports. Like we've still got football, and now we've got basketball coming up. Like, come on. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better than this. But like we were talking, before the show, just want everyone to be safe while they're doing, playing the sports they love. But other than that, I'm doing great, man. How about you?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, speaking of that, I did grab, I thought one of the first things we could talk about, I've got the rules and regulations that came out this week for the NBA. So I'm just going to read a little here. The NBA today announced, and this would be today for us, Monday, that the structure and format for the 2021 season will include a play-in tournament to determine the teams that will fill the 7th and 8th playoff seeds in each conference. The NBA's 75th regular season will begin on Tuesday, December 22nd, and feature 72 games for each team. The opponent breakdown for the regular season is available at NBA.com. So here's some of the changes. Each team will play 3 games against each interconference opponent, 42 total games per team. With each pairing featuring either 2 home games and 1 road game, or 1 home game and 2 road games. With each team's division, the league office has randomly assigned which 2 opponents will be played twice at home and which 2 opponents will be played twice on the road. A lot of confusing stuff there. Marvin, what are your thoughts as they're starting to kind of twist and turn and try to make NBA work in a non-bubble COVID world?
That's the word, man. Like you said, confusing is the word, because this is just so unprecedented. Obviously, Adam Silver has had to make the adjustments to the schedule. Obviously, and with the new playoff format, and the 3, like you said, with the 3 division teams playing each other 3 times, in a condensed season. Man, you're gonna see a lot of load management. Like, you're gonna see that. Like, it's inevitable. Like, especially for LeBron James, entering the season, at age 36, coming off a championship win that just wasn't that long ago. It seems like it was like last month they just played.
We talked about it on this season.
Right. They literally just got done playing in a bubble. So it's crazy to even fathom that they're starting tomorrow. And, when you look at, players and, some players, and you look at their injury history, you look at Kevin Durant coming off the Achilles injury. We talked about this last week, Justin, and you said you didn't even care that it was a preseason game, that, it's a 72 game season, with the new format, it might be, a challenge to just come in and be the same guy that he was. So it's like I said, it's confusing to me. It still is. It's just a matter of all of us fans just have to get used to it.
Yeah, and I don't have a direct quote, but I heard Adam Silver talking on this and basically saying, he was asked the question, it's my question. The bubble worked. Why are we not trying to incorporate a different, the bubble again? Because it was so successful. They didn't have one positive. Marvin, they didn't have one. Look at the NFL. Look at the NCAA football right now, and the devastation that's happened. And the bubble didn't have one. It absolutely worked. Then he said, now we're going from one market to 30 individual markets and trying to contain that same level. And I think we're going to see a lot of rescheduling. Whether people believe it or not, stacking games that are unnatural, having to play certain size of opponents over and over again. And it's going to be draining. And yeah, we talked about the finals on this season of The Wire. So
yeah, we did. Think about the round the clock testing. There's going to be even more. They're going to have to double the amount of testing they're going to do because the players are still traveling. You have to add that in, in home games and to a certain point, if certain arenas and owners decide to admit fans, I hope, with proper, cautious care and, vaccination, hopefully we get to that point. They can get to, a point where you can admit fans. But like you said, a lot of rescheduling. I see a lot of postponing happening. Obviously, this is something, we're not assuming, but it's a logical it's a logical assumption, I think, because like you said, the bubble worked for the longest. We didn't see any cases at all, but this is different. Now there's no bubble in place. There's no structure except, the normal arenas that they have to play in. So you can only hope that they stay safe.
I think it's going to end up coming back to, and then we'll wrap on this, but it's going to end up coming back to what we said, that it's the money. We know they're doing this to open those 30 markets back up, to bring more money in. I think maybe they're looking at the NFL and they're like, okay, that was a manageable disaster when it comes to what the NFL has probably made this season, because they are admitting, 11,000, 12,000, sometimes 14, 15,000 fans into some of these stadiums.
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable that could be safe. I find it so hard to believe that it's 100% safe, and that that you can be sure that none of those people that came in brought the virus with them, and that didn't get transmitted. It's hard for me to fathom that, but they're playing. Before we get in, we'll talk about the season a little bit and what's to expect tomorrow. But I did see this, and we've talked about some of the free agencies. Did you see Kawhi Leonard spoke up?
I did. I saw that he is not going to accept his player option or decline.
At least he said, right now I'm not making any decisions, but I'm going to focus on the season. But he did say that the best decision for him is likely to decline the player option next summer once the season's done. What are your thoughts on him speaking out, man?
Well, I thought it was initially. I thought it was pretty cryptic and smart on his part, because when you look at the Clippers and the direction that they're going in, Kawhi doesn't know where where the Clippers are going to be at the end of the season. I think that they all and we at one point on the Wire thought that the Clippers were the team that was going to be in the NBA Finals, but they weren't. And I'm pretty sure everyone on that roster, including Kawhi and Paul George, thought that they were a lock to be champions. And so the outlook on the season looked bleak. Doc Rivers isn't there. Ty Lue is the head coach. So I think that Kawhi is looking at the situation carefully and is going to see how the season plays out. See how Paul George is going to perform, because that's one thing that they've been saying since Kawhi and Paul George joined together, that they're the best duo in the NBA. Well, Kawhi is doing his job, but if Paul George doesn't show up in the postseason, Kawhi is going to look at that just and decline that option and look at other teams and go elsewhere, because we notice what Kawhi does. We've seen this. He does entertain other teams, and he'll get into negotiations if they parlay his way. If they go his way, he'll go to a team and if he came to this show, he'd have a list of demands that he'd want. This guy just comes with a resume of being I wouldn't say being a nuisance. I wouldn't want to say that. That's a strong word. I would say he's more of a guy that is a quiet dude, but it's like any other superstar that comes with his long list of demands. So I think that's what you're going to see come the end of the season. If they don't win the championship, he's going to decline the option. I think he's going to leave, because this is what he does. Yeah. I mean, and it kicks back to Tony Ray saying, this is what basketball's become. You don't have these franchise guys like you always did. There's always an option. There's always somewhere to go. And I think
The NBA knows that. That's what these contracts are for. That's why they're designed. That's why he doesn't have to make a decision until summertime comes around. And I think it's absolutely smart. He's probably been bugged for an answer, and he had to come up with something. So he says, I think the best decision is likely to decline. Yeah. Because that's what all the analysts are saying. You know, that's the truth. That's based on stats. That's real. But I commend him for saying, I'm going to focus on the season at hand and see what I'm working with. You talked about power duos. We would be remiss to not talk about the kickoff tomorrow night. We are going to see what is really going on in Brooklyn, and they are going to be going up against Golden State. Now, Golden State, Draymond Green's out for Game 1. So what's the impact of that injury, and what all are you watching for in this opener to the season?
I think it's a significant, injury for Draymond, impacting the team. Not having him there is definitely going to hurt them on defense. When you don't have Draymond Green there being an anchor, which he's been for the Golden State Warriors for years, that hurts you going into the opener, especially without a Klay Thompson. But the good news is that they have James Wiseman, your rookie. This is what you drafted him for. This is the usage that you hope to get out of him if you're Steve Kerr. So he's going to have to definitely step up in that 4 or 5 role. And, Steph Curry, Justin, we know it's going to be Steph Curry. I mean, he's been putting on the show this whole preseason. He looks great. It wasn't a leg injury or ankle injury. It was his hand, and he looks fully recovered, and he looks like he's picking up right where he left off in his MVP campaign. But it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be an uphill battle going into this game because his matchup is Kyrie Irving on the other side of the ball. And we all know what Kyrie Irving's been up to lately with the spraying, with the waving the sage, Justin, around arenas, to his Aristotle views on basketball of being an artist, and I'm following Charles Barkley a little bit just in the last few days. And Charles is probably the most brutally honest guy you will ever see on TV when it comes to sports. Probably the most brutally honest commentator when it comes to sports. And he's even said, you can't call you can't act like you're the smartest dude in the world. You play basketball. Like, yes, you are a superstar, yes, but there are teachers, there are doctors out there, there are people on the front lines, there are nurses that are saving lives. Yes, Kyrie Irving does a lot for the community. I'm not saying nothing bad about him, but yes, Chuck does have a point. But anyway, that's besides the point.
He's making a mockery of it.
Right, he's making a mockery of it. So you ask yourself, is he focused going into this game? Because if he's not, he is in one of the biggest media capitals of the world, Justin. He's in Brooklyn. So if he gets shown up by Steph Curry, he's going to have to face the media for that, but the guy that can save him to his right is Mr. 11, Kevin Durant. He's back from his Achilles injury. As Kyrie Irving is said last week, they're called 7-Eleven. I'm not sure I dig the nickname.
The game's at 7 Eastern time, so maybe that's a sign. I don't know.
Maybe it's a sign,
We've heard me talk about Kevin Durant and my unsurety of whether or not he's even going to be worth a damn this season. But I will say KD is probably the most talked about player in the preseason. What do you expect out of him tomorrow night?
I expect him to have a great game. I expect him to be KD. He's in rhythm, and you don't, like I said, you don't lose your marksmanship, after a significant injury like that. That was completely devastating, much like Klay Thompson's, so I think that he's going to really take advantage of Draymond Green not being there. He's going to get to the basket. Like I said, James Wiseman's going to have to step up, but there's not too much. I don't see anybody on Golden State starting 5 that's going to be able to guard Kevin Durant. Straight up. I don't see it. It's not going to be Andrew Wiggins, and it's going to be scary if they get Steph on the pick and roll and has to guard KD. I mean, I hate to, I hate to see it tomorrow, but I feel like the Nets could really lay it on them tomorrow if they get it going, because Steph, like I said, is a one-man band. He's got some pieces around him, but there's no Draymond. Like you said, that's your question at the top of at the top was, like you said, it's very significant. Him not being there really, weakens the defense as if it already wasn't, without Klay Thompson being there. So it's gonna be a matchup. It's gonna be a great matchup to see.
Last tip on this game. Mr. Kevin Durant and Steph Curry both have some chemistry on the court, as we know. What do you think? You think there's going to be anything to this homecoming, or you think these guys are professional enough to I did see Kevin Durant's like, it's going to be cool to see some of the guys again. Steph Curry said it's going to be great to see him doing his thing. I'm sure that's just being professional, but what are your thoughts on him playing against his old squad?
I think they're going to be professional. Like I said, it didn't end the way they wanted it to end in Golden State. It was a tragic injury, Kevin Durant, and that derailed their championship hopes right out the window, along with that Klay Thompson injury. So, when you're looking at that, when those two are on the court, I think they both think about that in the back of their minds. What could it have been? Because if they had won that championship, you're talking 3 championships in a row. That's a dynasty. And they and just to touch back on Kevin Durant's comments lately, regarding the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry, I think he's going to be professional, because he said he's a warrior at heart. But I think we all know Kevin and how he is. He wants to make a statement. He left Golden State for a reason. He felt that Steph Curry was getting all the shine. To be honest with you, Justin, that's what he felt. That's why he left. He felt that he was not getting the credit that he deserved for those 2 rings and those 2 finals MVPs. And Kevin Durant felt, slighted when Joe Lacob gave, Steph really more so the credit, and rightfully so, because we all knew it was Steph's team before KD got there. But I think tomorrow, they're letting bygones be bygones. Obviously, they're not thinking about that. They're thinking about hooping. Steph Curry's going to be happy for KD, Justin, that, that KD's back, from his injury, and KD's going to be happy that Steph is back from his injury. So, they're going to be brotherly, before the game. But when the ball is up in the air, Steph is going to do what he does, and KD's going to do what he does. And, I remember the matchups. This is going to be great to see, Justin, because I remember when KD was in OKC, and I remember when they went head to head. So I enjoyed that before seeing KD jump ship, but that's a different story for another day,
Yeah, and that's not the only game that we've got going on tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, the defending NBA champion Los Angeles Lakers will open the season against the Clippers. Marvin, if you're the Clippers going into this game, what have you got to prove? What's the game plan? And what are your thoughts on how LA might end up looking tomorrow night?
I think if you're the Clippers, you want to see what you're going to get out of your new acquired acquisitions, like Serge Ibaka. You want to see how he fits into the system. We all know Serge Ibaka and Kawhi Leonard have great chemistry, and we're going to see Ty Lue. We're going to see Ty Lue in action. We're going to see how well he can coach this team, because I was a Cavs fan, and I will speak highly of Ty Lue. But this is a different roster. He's not coaching LeBron, Justin. He's coaching Kawhi. He's coaching PG. You've got Pat Bev on the team. So you've got a few, what I would call Pat Bev a knucklehead. Let's just call him that on the wire. So I would say that Ty Lue has his hands full a little bit. You don't have Montrezl Harrell. So you've got some holes. You've got some holes to fill. They don't have a point guard yet. That's the thing. So it's going to be interesting to see how they match up against the Lakers tomorrow. And we're going to see if they're still in their head. from the postseason? Is that wiped away? Are they ready to get back to, their style of basketball, which is, I would say, predicated on defense, Justin? They got Pat Bev, which doesn't do anything for them offensively except just talk. He's like, I'll call him, I call him Baby Draymond, Justin. That's his name, Baby Draymond, Pat Bev. But they've got a fair shot at beating the Lakers tomorrow because like I said, they got Kawhi Leonard, who had a great season, and he's coming out pissed off tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. And on the other side of the ball, you got the defending champs. Like you said, you got LeBron, you got AD, you got the newly acquired Montrezl Harrell, you got contract extended Kyle Kuzma. You've got Dennis Schroeder, I think, who's might be limited tomorrow because of an ankle injury. But when you look at the Lakers, they're a complete team. They brought everybody back. Rob Pelinka has made sure he's added new guys to the roster to complement LeBron and AD. So it's going to be a matchup for the ages tomorrow to start the season. But I think the Lakers come out on top on this one. I said LeBron does his thing, and the Lakers pick up right where they left off against Miami. Their confidence is riding high. They're going to raise that banner tomorrow, that 18th World Championship. It'll be raised right in front of the Clippers bench, and it'll remind them that they should not crown themselves as champions before you start an NBA season.
Yeah, just look at the Bucks. The Buccaneers.
Yeah, the Bucks. Yeah, ask the Bucks.
So we got Los Angeles as your pick 'em for the 10 o'clock game. Who you got at 7?
7 o'clock. Who's playing?
The Nets and the Warriors.
Oh, yeah, the Nets and the Warriors. Oh, how could I forget? I'm going to go with the Nets on this one. I say Kyrie and KD, a.k.a. 7-Eleven. It's going to be all day tomorrow for them. I think you're going to see a sneak preview of what the Nets could possibly be if their so-called leader, whoever it is on the team, can carry them to a win.
Absolutely. Well, a definite big day to start the NBA season. Golden State and Brooklyn Nets kick off at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on TNT. The Clippers and the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, I don't know why I'm telling you guys all this. Played at 10. So check out TNT and ESPN for your reruns if you missed it because it's Wednesday. Marvin, love seeing your face, man. Wish we were going to have you for the NFL, but I understand. Things come up. We'll have Sahe joining us. Before I let you get out of here today, man, we got to talk about something. And it's not NBA and it's not NFL, so I had to squeeze it in here in the middle. Did you see the 2020 PNC championships, my man?
Did I see it? Man. Wow. Let me just say on the wire today, Justin, what's today? It's December 21st, 2020. Okay, mark it down on your calendar, folks. All you golfers out there, all you fans that love to watch golf movies. I mean, look out for Charlie Woods. Charlie and Tiger Woods put on a show at the PNC Championship, Justin. I mean, when I watched this kid, it was like watching baby Tiger and a better version of Tiger. This kid was doing things I had never seen other kids do. Just things that you like. That Tiger doesn't even know if he taught him. I think he just inherited. I think he just learned it. I'm not sure. One of the two. I play golf and I know you put in the work, but this kid is doing things that adults don't do. This kid hit a high hook, 170 yards and left it 4 feet from the hole for eagle. I don't see any kids do that. What kid do you know is doing that? I don't do
it
that.
In so fast too.
And he put it in so fast. This kid has got the fist pump down. He's got the club twirl down. This kid is phenomenal. This kid's short game is on point. Just looks just like his dad out there. His focus is just impeccable. To be only 11 years old and to have a competitive grip on the game, that's scary. So I would say, Justin, they got to look out for this kid. I couldn't tell you folks out there who else I follow because they were the only ones to follow. because the score was so low. I mean, when you're 18 under, they're the only show you want to see on Sunday. They were both wearing red and black. So how do you stop that? I'm like, this kid is the truth. This kid is going to be the next phenom. I would predict now, Justin, on this show that this kid does, I'll call it now, this kid does 1 year at Stanford, just like Tiger did. And then he goes to the tour, and his dad just mentored him, just like Earl did. So it's just, guess it runs in the family, man. It was fun to watch.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be like a family discipline. I wonder if he had a choice, but
he might not have. But I'm not sure if Tiger had that much of a choice either. But we'll find out, Justin, because I don't know if you know it or not. But all you folks out there, be on the lookout for Tiger's documentary coming out on HBO Max. I think it's a 2-hour, 2-part documentary. And, those things are always interesting to watch, to see because you see the rise and the fall, and then you see a rise again, and then his son being on the rise. So it's a great story. But just to see, aside from that, just to see a father and son out there having fun, to see a kid just playing with his dad, he'll remember that for the rest of his life,
Yeah, that's not the usual father and son trip to the golf course by any means. No. And the best word that you could have possibly put on it, the same word that was playing in my head, scary. Because when someone's that talented at that age, and we know, we've seen over the years, some of these kids are just gifted, and they lock their focus in at that. It's not that other kids aren't gifted and couldn't be that good, but it's the lack of focus that we as humans don't have at that age. And some people, like Mr. Charlie Woods, man. Whew. Well, thank you for joining us, Marvin. Don't go anywhere. You're watching The Wire. We're going to have Sahe, and we're going to talk some NFL. Are you tired of the mundane one subject, one point of view podcast? Have you been searching for a show that combines comedy, games, current events, and hot new up-and-coming artists? Well, look no further. The H2G podcast has everything you need to start your week out right. So what are you waiting for? Stream previous seasons now at h2gpodcast.com. The H2G podcast, Mondays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Available at all social media platforms near you. What's going on, people? Welcome back to The Wire. I am here with Sahe, and it is time to talk NFL. Sahe, how you doing, man?
Great. How you feeling tonight, Justin?
I'm doing good. We had a good talk about all the craziness going on in the NBA, but now I'm ready to talk about this insane week in NFL. We had quite a bit. It was like a circus, really.
Right.
All right. So first and foremost, Sahe, I'll run down the scores here. Now I can't speak for the Steelers Bengals just yet because, as you guys know, we record on Mondays, and right now that joke of a game or whatever is going on. Currently, the Bengals, the 2-10-1 Bengals on their third string quarterback are beating the Pittsburgh Steelers 24-17. I don't even know what's going to end up happening. You guys will know by the time the show comes out. Let's go back to this weekend. Okay. So we had two games on Saturday. We had the Bills and Broncos. Bills put the Broncos away 48-19. Packers over the Panthers 24-16. On Sunday, the Bucks took care of the Falcons 31-27. 49ers Cowboys take another win 41. That puts them at 5-9-3, a solid playoff chance.
Still in it. Anything can happen. NFC East.
Oh my God. NFC East does it again. The Titans take care of the Lions 46-25. The Colts over the Texans 27-20. The Patriots lose again and are out of the playoffs to the Dolphins. We'll talk about that. 22-12. Bears and Vikings. Bears won that one 33-27. Seahawks over the Washington football team 20-15. The Ravens demolished the Jaguars 40-14. The Jets, the New York Jets, 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 23-20 over the Los Angeles Rams. The worst win, I think, I keep hearing it called the worst win in NFL history.
Right.
Cardinals beat the Eagles, but 33-26. We'll talk about that. Chiefs over the Saints with Drew Brees looking rough this week. We'll talk about that. 32-29. And the Browns got the Giants 20-6. Okay, so there's a lot to talk about here. First and foremost, we got to talk about the Jets. Sahe, my question for you is: do you think that the fans should be happy about this win?
As you're kind of in that spot to where it's like, man, you want to see it. You want your team to win because winning makes everything better. You know, you go about your day, everything just seemed light and airy, and you got that win. But now Trevor Lawrence might be off the table, and they were looking at him to be the savior. So it's got to be like a man. For a fan, it's like the Jets can't do anything right. You can't, you know what I'm saying? Can't win for winning, you know? It is horrible. It is horrible. Like, it's got to be horrible being a Jets fan.
Yeah.
The only thing you got to look forward to is the number one pick.
And you just lost.
Right?
But you know, shouts out to like this could be Frank Gore's last season. I mean, at least he gets one win. He doesn't have to spend his last season winless. You know, shouts out to the individuals still trying to do their thing.
Yeah, for the players, it's a great thing to get that monkey off your back. You don't want to be the third team ever to go defeated in the season and not win a game. As a player, that's horrible. But for the management and the fan perspective, that win was just the last thing they needed. Really, they really needed to lock up that number one draft pick. It's not going to be good. But at the same time, it's not like they don't have a good guy at quarterback right now. Right. If they'll still have a top pick if they can lean on that as a positive, you know, build around Sam Darnold. Maybe they'll have something. You never know.
Well, anything could be better than this season, that's for sure. Okay, so we're gonna move over to the Cardinals and the Eagles. I got the question I got for you. Which story do we cover? What is the story here? Is the story how did the Cardinals barely beat the Eagles? How did they almost figure out how to lose to the Eagles? Or is the story Jalen Hurts?
Oh, it's without a doubt Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts makes that team right now 100 times better. You weren't getting anything with Carson Wentz. He was a turnover machine, always putting the ball on the ground. Jalen Hurts just came in and he's a breath of fresh air for the team. I think this is the second week he went for over 300 yards passing. It's going to be tough in Philly because they're paying Carson Wentz a godly amount of money, and you can't pay that guy that kind of money and ask him to sit on your bench behind him. So they've got a lot to figure out. I'd hate to be like in my coaching staff and the owners of that organization, because what are you going to do? You're going to keep playing the hot young rookie, or are you just going to go down with your guy you're paying millions of dollars to? They got a lot to figure out. The Cardinals, they did what they had to do. They got the win. It wasn't pretty, but you know, they're hanging on to their playoff hopes. So we'll see. We'll see what happened with the Cardinals, but the Philadelphia Eagles got a lot to think about these next coming weeks and going into the offseason. It's going to be a huge storyline going into next year.
It's already spanned its way into the bench, as we heard Carson Wentz mention this week. He does not want to be a quarterback who plays off the bench. So if this becomes a trend, we're expected to see Carson Wentz looking to make a move. The question that I have, and I was talking with Marvin off air about this, where do you think Carson Wentz fits in?
I was hearing talks about maybe going to Indianapolis. His old offensive coordinator is up in Indianapolis. Phillip Rivers, you don't know how long he's going to want to stay in Indianapolis, so maybe that's a fit if they can get him on the books and work it out with that way. Get Jacoby Brissett out of there and Phillip Rivers, and they slide Carson Wentz in, because Carson Wentz is a good quarterback. I just think his confidence is shaken, especially with that year with Nick Foles winning the Super Bowl. That should have been Carson Wentz's team, and then the next year he goes down with an injury, and I think he's slowly trying to figure it out, but I don't think it's going to work necessarily like they wanted to in Philadelphia, so I think the Colts might be a good spot. Let's see, who else? Who needs a quarterback? Maybe Carolina, but they just signed Teddy Bridgewater to that contract, and they're looking all right. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
The Bengals could use
the Jets. The Bengals could use a quarterback.
They could use a backup there.
They got Joe Burrow. He's going to come back.
Well, that's the thing. He'd be a great. I think Carson Wentz would be a wonderful backup quarterback for Cincinnati. That'd be a great situation.
You know what just crossed my mind?
What's that?
The Patriots. They're not married. They're not married to Cam Newton.
Yeah, they won't even talk. They won't even talk about Cam Newton. I think he signed a one-year deal. Yeah, I think he signed a one-year deal, so he's not going to be there for sure. And you never know. Bill Belichick, greatest coach in the NFL, might see something in him, might could turn him around. So it's going to be a huge storyline going into the offseason. That's a great segue. Bill Belichick this week was contacted by members of the ESPN media, and he's, as he has been weekly, and actually this may have been a radio station out of Boston, but they were asking him, with now the playoffs out of the picture, will we see a change at quarterback? Are you thinking that that's the problem? And he just continuously stated, you ask me this every week if there's going to be a change. And then when they said, well, now that there's no playoff hopes, they pushed it a little further. He just left them completely on dead air as to say, next question. So I think Cam Newton must be a sore subject up there in New England. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a lot of inconsistency from the quarterback position up in New England. But it's kind of expected when they had all the opt-outs. They went and grabbed Cam as kind of like a last-ditch effort to maybe save the season. Yeah. So you never know with Bill Belichick. He's got something up his sleeve. This year was kind of a wash for him, especially from the quarterback position. I know he's got to be frustrated. There's not a lot of answers he can really give at this point because he doesn't even know, I'm sure. So we'll see. It's going to be a nice long off season for him. He's going to be able to figure out once he gets his defensive guys back. They'll be all right.
Yeah, the Patriots have never really struggled in my lifetime, but they've never not had TB12. And I'm not connecting it because I know what Belichick can do, and I know there was a lot more to that team than Tom Brady. But man, it's just a bad year to look that way. So what do we got next? Okay, so Drew Brees was 44% this week. He was 1 for 10 on third down conversions. And they lost to Kansas City, but they only lost by 3. So my question to you is, one, do you think that we just saw a Super Bowl preview because the game otherwise was pretty well matched, I thought, well played on both sides of the ball? And what do you think about Brees stats-wise being off his numbers, although optimistic? He said, I'm a little shaky coming back from broken ribs. Do you think that with a healthy Brees, this would have been a blowout or still a close competitive game?
With a healthy Brees, I still think it's a close competitive game. They were also without Michael Thomas, I believe, so that factors into it. And the fact that Drew Brees is a little hurt, no Michael Thomas, and it's still a close game, makes the Saints real scary to think about. So you could be right. It could have been a Super Bowl preview. We'll just have to see how Drew Brees and his arm, you know what I'm saying, continues to heal and process. If he could keep it the same, or get better, I should say, if he could get better these next couple weeks and into the playoffs. The Saints are a scary team. But when the playoffs come, we all know how it's been working for them the last couple of years. You never know.
Yeah, it's a real toss-up, and I guess my last question for this week, and this is a bold, but we are kind of coming down to the wind down, so I guess it's not as bold as it would have been earlier in the season. Is there anybody in the AFC, now that Pittsburgh's clearly having a downtrodden fall off, whether it's they never had it together, like I may have said early in the season, or they're just falling apart at this point? Who do you think could knock on the Chiefs' door to compete for the AFC, or do they have it wrapped up?
In the AFC, to knock off the Chiefs, that is so hard. But I like what the Browns are doing with the run game, if they can get that rolling. Who else? The Buffalo Bills, they look good. They can put up points. Josh Allen's a great quarterback. It's going to be hard to get the Kansas City Chiefs out of there, but I think they're very beatable. They've been in a couple close games, just like the last one with the Saints. They figuring to know Michael Thomas, you got to injure Drew Brees. They're doing everything they can to make a game competitive, and they're still playing close, and the Chiefs are at full strength. So they're very beatable, I feel like, but it's not going to be easy. But if it's any team, I believe from the way the season is looking right now, I would say it's those teams. Those are the two under the radar, I guess you would say, teams in the AFC that could come up and dethrone the Chiefs.
Yeah, if you go with Tony Ray, he believes that the Pittsburgh Steelers will finish 11-5, that they're not going to win another game in the regular season. Do you think their playoff prowess will give them any shot at running through the playoffs and possibly giving a game to the Chiefs? Or do you think this downward spiraling momentum, and we don't know the outcome, we're watching it kind of as we're broadcasting here, but what do you think? Is it complete loss for them? Is it time to start looking into next season?
Well, look, I won't say it's a complete loss. The Steelers went to 11-0. They pretty much have the division wrapped up. I don't think they're going to lose out the regular season. This game isn't looking good, so it looks like they're going to be about 11-3 by the time this airs. And they're still on top. What's the Browns record? Do you have that on there? They're like 9-4. 10-3.
With their win this week, they're at 10-4.
10-4. So yeah, the Steelers are still going to be up top of the division. I feel like they're going to win the division. They're going to be the fourth seed in the playoffs, the third or the fourth. And when you get into the playoffs, the game changes a little bit. They're going to need to be able to run the ball, which they're not doing a great job at tonight.
Tonight they did pull out James Conner, and they've got Benny. I'll get back to you that, but they've got a different back end, and he's running it up. But I heard a little bit of pregame saying that possibly this is an intentional move by Mike Tomlin or the offensive staff. You know, let's keep him healthy, let's keep him ready for the playoffs, because they're in the playoffs. Yeah. A win tonight cinches the division, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, and this year's playoffs is a different story because only one team gets the first round bye. So every team's going to be playing on wild card weekend. I think it's as long as you're in the dance, you got a chance. You know what I'm saying? So anything can happen. They got to 11 wins somehow. They've got what it takes. Ben Roethlisberger's been to Super Bowls. He knows what it takes. There's no Peyton Manning in his way. There's no Tom Brady in his way. He's got to get I think they have the psychological edge over the Browns if they match up with them in the playoffs. I think they just lost to the Bills, but I don't think they were putting all their stuff that they have out on tape. It's kind of my theory on the Buccaneers. I think all year we've been just kind of like, I've been listening to a lot of analysts and stuff talking. They say, well, I look at that Buccaneers team and I don't know who they are. They could be this, they could be that, they could be this. And I think that's where you want to be going into the playoffs. So teams don't really know what you're going to do, or they're able to scout you to what you do best and have a great plan to stop you. If they don't know what you're doing, we don't know what we're doing. Nobody's know what we're doing. That's very dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Because anything can happen. I feel like that's the same way with the Steelers team. They could lose to anybody, but they can also beat anybody. And I feel the same way with my squad. So I can't wait for the playoffs. We're only a couple of weeks away. Let's get this regular season over with. I'm surprised we've got this far, being that this is the COVID season. And all, it's been a great year, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, despite everything that's gone on, it's definitely made for entertainment value, and I think the NFL probably has no shortage of viewers as everyone's home. So, not to discount the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but it's you brought up the analyst. Everybody's thinking it's going to be Packers or Saints on that side that are going to be the real big threats. I could see that wild card, who knows what's going on in Tampa Bay, like you said. Really competitive teams, though, in the NFC. Extremely competitive teams. And, I think we could both agree out of the AFC, if we were going to put any team against one of them for a competitive Super Bowl with a chance of either team winning, that would be the Chiefs. What are your thoughts about any of the other three that we mentioned that could make it through? The Steelers could make it. Really, anybody could make it through. But the Steelers, the Bills, or the Browns, if they were able to get through the AFC Championship and then meet a team in the East, what kind of game does that look like for the Super Bowl?
So another team other than the Chiefs playing in the Super Bowl against any team in the NFC, or? Well,
yeah. I mean, so I guess who's your picks for the NFC? We could start there.
My picks for the NFC, I'm pulling for the Buccaneers, obviously. But if any team, what my head would say, I think the Packers are very beatable. They don't have that great of a defense. I like the Saints because of their D-line. I like the Saints because of their D-line. Who else is up there? You got the Seahawks. I like them, but they don't have defense either. If any team, I think it might come down between either the Saints or the Buccaneers. It's whoever can play the best defense and run the ball the best.
So I guess my question is, if the unthinkable happens and either the Bills or the Browns or the Steelers are able to pull a win off over the Chiefs and get through to either the Bucs or the Saints, do you think that those teams that will have to work so hard just to beat the Chiefs will have a chance against a team from the NFC like the Bucs or the Saints? Or the
yeah, for sure. The top teams in the AFC are very good. It would be hard to say. It would be competitive all the way around. I think if the Chiefs make it, a lot of people are going to go with the Chiefs to win it. But if any of the other teams in the AFC make it to the Super Bowl, I think it's going to be a toss-up. I don't think there's a clear-cut Super Bowl winner this year.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate that. My picks for the NFL, I at this point I don't even know, so I'm just gonna pass. I can't say for the AFC. I'd almost have to say Chiefs until someone shows me better. And then the NFC is anybody's game. I think the three that we mentioned, with the addition of maybe, I think Aaron Rodgers could probably pilot that team, even though they don't have a defense. I mean, when someone is that solid and can put up that many points, it's really anybody's game this season. Before we close up, Sahe, I'm going to move over to college just because we talked about it a little bit last week. Did you happen to see, the coaches made their picks and their ranks this week, and Dabo Swinney's went viral? Did you happen to see that from Clemson?
I seen him talk about the I heard about him talking about the Heisman with Trevor Lawrence, but I didn't really see all his other comments.
Yeah, his picks. I'll give you the top five, and you know who they're playing in this championship. They've got Alabama at 1, Clemson 2, Notre Dame 3, Texas A&M at 4, and Florida at 5, Georgia at 6, and that number keeps going down to 11 before Ohio State's listed.
Wow, that's Dabo Swinney's list.
Yeah.
Wow. And I mean, a lot of people are just hating because Ohio State didn't play as many games. They only got 6 wins, but that's not Ohio State's fault. That's the Big Ten's fault. You can't penalize those kids for not having the games on their schedule and teams canceling. Like Michigan, I feel like they canceled on. I think they knew they were going to cancel the whole season on Ohio State. As soon as they lost their first game, they're like, "Well, we're out of it, so we're going to make sure Ohio State's out of it too." And everybody's just hating on Ohio State because nobody wants to see Ohio State. They don't want to play them. They know how dangerous they are. They don't want to see Ohio State shine. It's kind of sickening to me.
I honestly would love to see them try to put Ohio State in a different division some year. I mean, I know that that's not how divisions work and they have to play the teams that are around here, but I think that's where the Buckeyes could really prove themselves, because we've talked about their deep bench and their ability to recruit talent, and it's always solid. The best available in this area goes to the Ohio State and Columbus. You and I being from the area, we know that. The problem, like we said last week, is that they don't really get a season's worth of heavy competition to keep that talent on its toes, and so right. When they do hit these big games, they get a little complacent. But I think that, I agree. Dabo Swinney's he's overreaching, and he said in a post game as well. They said, "Well, how are you preparing for Ohio State?" And he said, "Well, it's a lot harder to prepare for a team when you've only got 6 tapes to watch," or something like that.
Oh, shut up! But shut up.
Yeah, I don't know, and I think there's some salt there. But a gentleman on PTI, I can't remember which one of them said it, but I was watching earlier today. And he said, an old coach friend of his said, you can't really take a coach's list of rankings serious. I mean, a sports information director, maybe, but a head coach has got on-field drama, on-field grudges, on-field.
Right. What was Clemson, number 1 on his list?
Clemson was number 2 behind Alabama.
Okay. At
least he couldn't deny that.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait for the Buckeyes to beat their ass. That's all I'm gonna say. I can't wait for them Ohio State Buckeyes to meet them Clemson Tigers and wipe the damn floor with them.
You heard it here, folks. All right. Well, thank you, Sahe, for sticking it out with me this week. Hopefully, we'll be seeing everybody back. We are getting close to the holidays. Don't worry. The Wire's not going anywhere. 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 of us will always be here to bring you the sports on Wednesday. But that's going to change with the New Year's, and we'll give you more information on h2gpodcast.com. I'm Justo. This is Sahe. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching The Wire.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen. I told everyone that the team that played last night and the team that's been playing the last 3 weeks was going to lose the rest of their games. And I wanted to be wrong, but I wasn't wrong. I was right. The Pittsburgh Steelers, how the mighty have fallen. They are not going to figure this out. They're not going to get it together. You think a team as prestigious as the Steelers would be able to do that, but it's not going to happen. This is probably the worst I've seen the Steelers offense look with Ben Roethlisberger in it. It goes to question, do you take a chance on Mason Rudolph? I don't know, but if this is the season and there's no more Ben Roethlisberger, teams are doing exactly what they needed to do to take Ben Roethlisberger out in his final year. A team that he's dominated over the last 10 years just won. A 2-10-1 team beat the Steelers. And I have all the blame on Mike Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger. It was absolutely atrocious. Once again, the Steelers are in dire need to figure it out because they're going to lose against the Colts, they're going to lose against the Browns, and they're going to lose against any team they play in the playoffs. If they played the Jets next week, they'd lose to the Jets. So, I don't know, but you heard it here on The Wire.